I never thought those words would leave my lips. But that night, as everything spiraled out of control, I whispered the one thing that changed everything. Don't stop. And from that moment on, I knew my life and my marriage would never be the same. It all started innocently, the way these stories often do. My husband had been distant for months. Long hours at work, cold silences at home, and excuses that cut deeper than he realized. I told myself I could live with it. That marriage was about endurance. But deep inside, a hunger was growing, a need to be seen. And then he came into the picture. My husband's best friend, Mark, had always been around, but I'd never really looked at him that way. Until one evening, when he came over to help fix a broken cabinet. I stood there, watching him work, noticing how his sleeves rolled up, how his hands were steady and sure. I hated myself for noticing, but I couldn't look away. When he caught me staring, he smiled. Not the polite smile of a friend, but one that lingered, that carried something unspoken. My stomach twisted, heat rushing to my face, and I quickly looked away. But the damage was done. Something had shifted. Later that night, when the cabinet was fixed and my husband still hadn't returned home, Mark stayed for a drink. One drink turned into two, laughter replacing the silence I had grown used to. And as the minutes stretched on, I felt myself leaning in closer, my guard slipping. When his hand brushed mine on the counter, I should have pulled away. But I didn't. My breath caught, my pulse raced, and that dangerous tension filled the air. And that was the moment I realized I was teetering on the edge of a line I swore I would never cross. Mark's hand lingered just long enough to make my skin burn. I pulled back, forcing a nervous laugh, trying to disguise what had just happened. But he didn't move away. His eyes held mine, searching, questioning, daring me to say something. "I should probably get going," he said softly, his voice low, almost reluctant. And that's when I should have nodded, thanked him, and closed the door. But instead, the words slipped out before I could stop them. "You don't have to leave yet." Silence. Heavy. Thick. The kind that makes your chest tighten. He leaned back against the counter, studying me like he was trying to read every thought in my head. My heart was pounding so loudly, I wondered if he could hear it. "Are you sure?" he finally asked, his tone cautious but filled with something I couldn't ignore. I nodded, though my entire body screamed with conflict. My marriage vows echoed in the back of my mind, but so did the sting of loneliness, the ache of being unseen for so long. We sat back down, but the energy between us was different now. His knee brushed mine under the table, an accident, maybe, but I didn't pull away this time. Instead, I leaned into it. Every brush of contact sent a shiver through me, and I hated how much I wanted it. By the time the clock struck midnight, the air was thick with unspoken desire. He stood to leave again, but when I followed him to the door, something inside me broke. I reached out, lightly grabbing his arm. Our eyes met, and in that split second, years of restraint, loyalty, and morality crumbled. He stepped closer, his breath warm against my skin. And before I could think about what I was doing, before I could stop myself, our lips met. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was desperate, hungry, and filled with everything I had been starving for. When we finally broke apart, I whispered, almost trembling, "This can't happen." But the truth was, I already wanted it to happen again. The moment the door clicked shut behind him, I collapsed against it, my lips still tingling, my body trembling with what I had just done. My mind screamed traitor, but my heart whispered something far more dangerous, alive. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I replayed it, the heat of his mouth, the way his hand brushed against my waist, the silent plea in his eyes. I hated myself for craving it, for craving him. The next morning, I tried to pretend it never happened. I cooked breakfast, cleaned the house, went about my routine as if I wasn't unraveling inside. But when my husband kissed me goodbye, his lips felt cold, foreign. I couldn't stop comparing, couldn't stop thinking of Mark. Days passed, and we didn't speak of it. When I saw him again, helping in the yard, laughing with my stepson, it was like nothing had happened. But every time his eyes met mine, the memory came flooding back. And then one evening, when everyone had gone to bed, I found him in the kitchen again. He looked up, surprised, maybe even guilty. I should have turned around. I should have walked away. But I didn't. We stood there, the silence louder than any words, until I finally broke it. My voice was barely a whisper. Do you regret it? His jaw clenched. Do you? My throat went dry. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say it was a mistake. But what came out instead was something I couldn't take back. No. The second I said it, he closed the distance between us. His hand slid along my jaw, tilting my face up toward his. My breath caught, my heart pounding so fast it hurt. And then it happened again. Another kiss. This one deeper, slower, more dangerous. And that was when I whispered the words I never thought would leave my lips. Don't stop. The moment those words slipped out of my mouth, it was like a dam had broken. He pressed closer, his body against mine, and every ounce of restraint I had left crumbled. My hands betrayed me, clutching at his shirt, pulling him nearer, even as my mind screamed for me to stop. But I didn't. I couldn't. His touch grew bolder, tracing lines down my back, settling at my waist like it belonged there. I felt myself melting, giving in, as if all the walls I had carefully built over years of marriage collapsed in seconds. The kitchen, the silence, the faint hum of the refrigerator, it all blurred into nothing. The only thing that existed was him and the way he made me feel. I told myself it was just the loneliness, just a moment of weakness. But deep inside, I knew it was something more. The truth was raw and terrifying. I wanted him. I don't know how long it lasted. Seconds. Minutes. It felt like an eternity and a heartbeat all at once. But then, suddenly, footsteps creaked above us. My stomach dropped. Panic crashed over me. We broke apart, breathless, wide-eyed, guilt dripping from us like sweat. My hands shook as I stumbled back, trying to look normal, trying to breathe. He raked a hand through his hair, cursing under his breath. A door upstairs opened. My husband's voice echoed faintly, calling my name. That was the moment reality slammed back into me. What we had done wasn't just reckless, it was catastrophic. One wrong move, one more second, and everything would shatter. Mark's eyes locked on mine. I could see the fear in them, but also something else. Something that terrified me even more than being caught. Longing. And I knew then that this wasn't over. Not even close.